Hey guys, Darren here. Welcome to Mayhem Country Living. Today we are going to do something a little bit different. As you can tell, I'm doing a little bit of traveling, so this video will be done from the car. Now, it's almost going to be in a podcast type of format. I am driving, I'm heading up to Huntsville to check some equipment for a company, and then I'm going to be heading up to Etowah, Tennessee to check something else out. So it's just going to be a long one-day trip there and back, hopefully by about 6 this evening. But I got some road time, and you can see we're going through the mountains. But I did want to talk to you real quick about building a community, surrounding yourself with a community of like-minded people, ideas and thoughts on how to do it, and what to do if you can't find anybody, and some thoughts on how I'm doing it. Maybe right or wrong, but it's how I'm doing it. Anyway, guys, more to come. Okay, guys, now we're back, and actually I'm going to, at some points during the conversation, I'm going to be setting the camera down because there's just not that much to see. And then we'll just kind of talk, and again, it will be almost in like a podcast format. So you can actually be doing other stuff. You don't have to be tied sitting down watching me drive. Establishing a community around you. Some of the best places to look to build a community, a group of like-minded people, not for zombies and all that crap, but just to help yourself and to help them out in a disaster situation. Ideally, the first thing I do is I look to my left and my right, and saying that, I mean I look at my neighbors currently. I am blessed to have really good neighbors who are not as far along as I am in preparedness, but who share the same concerns about certain things. And this allows me to have a starting point with them. One of my neighbors, and I've mentioned it before, Vinny, he lives next door to me. They have 5 acres. The creek runs on the edge of his property as well. So he's got a good water source. He's a retired miner, and his sons, he has 2 sons. One is a mining electrician, and one is a mining hydraulic and plumber. So there's a fantastic asset to draw from. You can do a lot worse than having an electrician and a plumber at your disposal if you need to, should something ever happen. We have been neighbors for years, so we know each other fairly well. The neighbor on the other side, I don't know them that well, but she is a dental hygienist, and her husband, I think, works for the mines. And I live out in mining country. And then there's a guy down the road who is he is a trauma nurse, an ER nurse. He's a really big asset. So we have kind of like a loose confederation. The people who live across the street, there's a father, there's a son that lives 2 acres over, and then an uncle that lives 2 acres over from that. So that is on the other side of the street. So everyone is pretty much family and related and close-knit. I know them because I carry them eggs and stuff like that. If we have eggs that don't sell, I will load up a dozen and ride over on the 4-wheeler and deliver eggs to them. So you can build a relationship through your neighbors, working in your neighborhood. You can also look for any kind of groups that are already established, mutual aid groups, stuff like that. There's a lot of different ones, and there's a lot of big ones like 3%ers, stuff like that. If you're into that, you know, more power to you. You might look in your area for community organizations, organizations through the churches that are in your area, neighborhood groups, volunteer firefighters, CERT groups. That's always a good place to look and meet people who have similar interests. They may not be into prepping, but they are in a form of preparedness, that being in search and rescue. That's something really big right there. You would not do very bad either if you looked up one of your local ham groups, and they are pretty common and pretty active. I'm willing to bet if you went on Facebook and looked on your neighborhood Facebook and asked who was a ham operator, I bet you would get 3 people to respond in 15 minutes that they were either a ham operator licensed, or they knew someone who lived in the area that was a ham operator. That's a really good thing to have. So looking at that, you have a way to communicate. You have a group of like-minded people. The idea of being out there by yourself, the lone wolf, the sole operator, the separationist, it's a nice idea for a book, but in real life it's just not going to work. It won't work, because at some point you got to sleep. At some point you have to go out and take care of your animals, take care of your garden, chop wood, get water, what have you. You can't sit on your roof or in a tree stand and listen and look and watch. Eventually you got to come down, you got to feed yourself and bathe yourself. So if you think that one person will do very well, you're wrong. 3 people might do okay for a short term. I'm going to say the more people you have, the better off you will be. Now, while you're doing all this hunting and interviewing and looking for people, let me tell you, you're going to find some turds and you're going to find some assholes. That's just the way it is. You try to weed them out. I've gone to several groups and talked to them and everything, and you know, as soon as they go up and you start talking, and you know, you go out to the barn and they got swastikas hanging out there, like, what the hell? No, we don't do that. And then you tip your hat and you say thank you and you let yourself out. First thing I do when I tell people who invite me to join these groups with them, and I get a good bit of invitations, the first thing I do is I say, absolutely. I said, I will not do anything illegal, immoral, or improper. And then I tell them further, I have family members who are federal agents and who work in other groups in the government that have alphabet names. And then I usually never hear from them again. And that's good for me. And I actually do. So I try not to do anything that's going to cause a problem. Again, illegal, immoral, improper. Not going to do that. Because disasters can be a hurricane. Disasters can be a tornado, a flood, a forest fire. Think about California. So that's the kind of stuff that you really want to watch for. Yes, I could imagine and I could play along and do that mental masturbation of zombies and all that stuff. And that's fun, and you think, what if? Yeah, but the fact that you've got 2 weeks worth of food set aside works just as well in a disaster, a tornado, a hurricane, a job loss, death of a family member, a divorce. The fact that you have your debt down and you owe as few credit cards as possible, you have